Cool. All right, I'm just going to let you play, do your thing. I'm going to write out many notes in the document, but I'm mostly going to shut up because talking in your ear is the most distracting thing in StarCraft. If I'm build this, it's probably just going to make you play 10 times worse. So I'm just going to let you do your thing, get in your rhythm, and we'll chat after the game. Good luck, man.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right, this should be really good, guys. So I really like covering a lot of information in coaching, but we can only cover so much without a clear, predefined plan. So what we're doing here with Big Uzi is we are kind of helping Uzi define the plan. We have a few preset problems, but we don't really have a build order yet. So it's hard to solve losing too many drones to harass, dying to 2 base pushes, and falling behind and losing late game. Those are 3 things which are very hard to solve without defining how we get to the mid game every game. And right now, the build order is about as loosely defined as it possibly can be. So I'm going to watch the habits. I'm going to try and get an understanding of what Big Uzi is doing on a subconscious level. And if I can get that down, that's actually going to be really, really cool. I'm actually, I forgot to mark this session up. So we'll just tab out real quickly. Start coaching 2 minutes before this. Game start. Awesome. So just as the game starts is a totally fine point for that to start, I think, if we do that. There we go. All right. Thank you very much, Traumantanza, with the Twitch Prime sub, as well as Spin Fuser with that 3 months just before. Thank you, fam. Appreciate it. So what we want to understand is the build order. Now, that looks like it was a 16 hatch into a very early 17 or 16 pool and then a gas. Now, there's a whole bunch of drones here. What is our drone scout doing? We're not droning right now, and he actually looked at home before he built drones, which was a little odd. He is hotkeying his hatch. He is hotkeying his drone. I don't know anything about his mechanics either. So I've kind of got to figure that out as we go here, which is fun. It's also a little scary. So it's a drone scout plus Nexus block. And it's like, what, 16 hatch, 16 pool, 16 gas? Could add more drones faster. Would be great. Just pull 2 probes whenever you see a drone. It's the easiest thing in the world to get rid of that, guys. So he's having to build a Zealot, which is just a big old overcommitment. Does take it out, though. There we go. 1 queen started. The other queen has still not started building. 2nd queen started late. 6 lings seems like a bit much. 6 lings is a bit much here. You already forced a Zealot, etc. So you shouldn't achieve anything on the other side of the map. Just 2 to 4 lings is fine. Okay, so what the fuck just happened to my formatting in this document? Nope. God damn it. I've done something weird. There we go. That's better. I think. Okay. Fixed my notes. My notes were just formatted like crazy. This build order is very rough. No 3rd queen, poor overlord placement, big lacking fundamentals here. Now, oh, actually, I guess there's no Nexus yet, right? So that actually makes sense. The Protoss is going, hey, I'm going to kill you with an Adept all-in. Like, Protoss is being super thrown off. We're only at 28 drones, though, so we do need to keep droning. It's good that we are. So even against the 1 base all-in here, it's like, well, he wasn't beelining for it originally. He's dropping a Nexus. We should be fine if we just drone up correctly. Keep building Overlords and whatnot. Mix of units. No Zergling spotters is kind of rough.
Metamorphosis complete.
OV spread needs work. In all matchups, OVs need to be spread around the front of the natural and 3rd as high priority. See incoming adepts, etc. Now somehow, why does this keep happening? I keep accidentally pressing something on my keyboard. GG's. Wouldn't you just take the third? You can. But he could have easily just pulled 2 probes down, killed the drone, and then put it down. 0 map vision. Ran all the lings across. Big issue. No ling spotters out. Always, in all situations, we should have much better ling vision. Ovi's on edges for prism / air harass after. Is also cool. Notice there's just no vision. We're so blind in this game. Now, one thing I like is that we are control grouping eggs, right? That's something I've been very happy with. And as we see more lings build, we're going to see them added immediately. Right now, I'd like to see drones, which we will. Spreading a little bit of creepy, yeah. Like, why is there not a Zergling here, a Zergling here, a Zergling here, a Zergling here kind of thing? That to me is like just this fundamental thing. And it's like we're going for a Hydra Den off no workers right now. And we're going double Evo. Yeah. All right. We've got to introduce the idea of different phases in the game. So rushed Hydra Den and Evo chamber way too fast. We need to focus on saturating to way over 50 drones before going Hydra Den plus double Evo. We went 40 drone Hydra plus double ups at this game. If he attacks us with anything, we're in big trouble. As well as the fact that our droning was just very inconsistent, right? So, whilst opening Hydra Tech is important, and we don't want it too delayed, I want there to be more focus on non-stop droning early on. And early on. So I guess what we can do is we can say phase 1. Let's get 50 drones, 4 gases, Ling Bane, right? So what is that? That's 6 drones on the third, right? That's a little awkward because I like it's still you'd want more drones than that, but basically, let's say 55 drones. Let's say 55 drones. That's 11 drones on the third. So if we can get to that point, that would be really nice. Why? Because we kind of need to get more minerals up. So if no third base from Toss, just mass Ling Bane here while waiting for Hydra upgrades, okay? So I would say that would be kind of what we want to do as phase 1. And then phase 2, Protoss investing in third base equals drone up to 66 drones, 6 gases, 4th base. Plus macro hatch, right? If we need the macro hatch, it depends how good you are at injecting. So the thing is, right now this is a total mess. We're going swarm hosts. We haven't really invested in the hydras we've got. We've got double upgrades, but they're the wrong upgrades. We're rushing a hive. We have no map vision. We have no idea what our opponent's doing, where his economy's at. And we've been hovering at 54 drones for a long time. You can't go hive or 54 drones. There's no reason to go to swarm hosts because we haven't completed the previous stage yet. We have no harassment, no scouting on the map, no attack timing we're building towards. We're listless. This is what I would describe as listless Zerg versus Protoss. There is no goal. We are just kind of chilling and doing random things. Why did we go Hydras if we're only going to build a handful of them? Why are we going Swarm Hosts? We have no idea what's going on in this game. We've got no gases, a big gas shortage. Yes, we've started getting that now, but it's a bit too late, right? How are we going to make Banelings, which should be our core army unit here? So this is just clearly a situation where we need definition, we need goals, we need set timing attacks, we need clear phases of we can drone that hard safely, then go to the next stage. What I'm looking at here is someone who's playing by feel. What is this macro hatchery going down? Playing by feel is great, and I'm sure Uzi has built great instincts, but just hasn't ironed out any details and in the mid game onwards. So yeah, like we're scouting right now, we're doing a 5 Zergling cloak, but we're missing Zergling spotters, and that's the big mechanical habit that needs to be added in. Good control groups, I like it. For some reason a macro hatch is on a different key, don't know why. But yeah, we're in a really random position here. I didn't see any lag. That's because he's on Wi-Fi. Being on Wi-Fi is really bad, guys. Do not... If you can get a wired connection, it's always going to be better. Especially if you're not super close to that router. So now we're going in with what is basically pure Zergling. Thankfully, there is just not that much Protoss. So we should be able to take it out, but... maybe not, actually. We've got so much money. We basically went pure Zergling here. Which... It's going to work through numbers, but if we were going to do this, we should have had 10 hatches, 2 gases all game, nothing but minerals, and we should have been doing Ling run buys and Ling drops all game long. The Hydras and the Swarm hosts have done almost nothing for us this game. So that's actually a powerful topic, powerful note. It says, hey, wait a second. I beat my opponent without knowing what I was doing. That means Big Uzi has parts of his play that are infinitely stronger than his understanding or his goal setting and his knowledge of timings and stuff. Because he's winning with no direction. Now, is he spending his money pretty well? Yeah. Is he doing some things pretty well? Yep. Is it overall lacking any sharp edges? Yes. And I'll tell you what, unlike running with scissors, in StarCraft you always want to run around with some sharp edges. You want to have something you're leveraging. And that's going to be big. Alright, G. So hopefully Patriotic does unmute and can kind of listen to it. I'll say it in the party chat. Unmute and have
do you want me to unmute the stream?
No, you don't need to. Just Patriotic can. You can look at the stream though. We can watch the replay if we want. Yeah, why not? While we talk. Mostly though, I want you looking at the notes in the document. So I've written out a whole bunch. I've just had a whole talk to chat trying to explain what I'm seeing. Basically, the early game build order, not super defined, vary by feel. And because of that, we're going to be a bit inconsistent. So we can definitely define your build order a lot more. And in general, actually writing your build order out in detail is just one of the most powerful things that you can do. So right now, it's kind of, you're doing good scouting. You're scouting, you're looking at what he's doing, you're reacting. The problem is there's no baseline in what you're aiming for, right? So there's points where you're not sure what to react to, and things get very ill-defined. Likewise, from the mid-game, we got really confused about what our goal was as a player. You actually won that game with a pure Zergling army. Your Hydras and Swarm hosts both did almost nothing. And it was kind of weird. We went a hive of 54 drones. We had very poor map vision all game as well. And there was, really good bits of scouting and pressure, like the drone and the Overlord and stuff like that were very active and very in your opponent's face. So there's certain things where I think reacting to stuff you've got down. I think basic macro mechanics you've got down. I think having a clearly laid out game plan is just not there.
Yeah, it's kind of not. I'm not gonna lie. It's like I mean I kind of do the same every game, like the first few steps, I guess.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, if he would have blocked my expo, something I've been doing, which is probably bad, but I drop a hatchery, like, where his second goes, and I wait till it's almost done, and I cancel it just to delay his second bait. But he didn't block his.
You can even do an Evo block with that as well, if you want to get the money back. You just cancel the hatch after about 15 seconds of building, and you quickly plop an Evo down, so you get most of the money back, since an Evo's a lot cheaper, and it's still going to buy a lot of time. Both are totally fine. But, okay, so... let's start mechanical. Let's start with something that is huge in every matchup, every situation, and will be probably the most life-changing thing that you need to change. And I am pretty sure will be in all of your matchups. I'm not 100% sure. I've watched one game. I'm usually right with stuff like this, though. So that's... map control is not there. You seem to not have a habit of splitting Zergling spotters off. So you end up very blind on the map. Do you think that's normal, or is this a one-off?
Usually my creep spread is way better than that. I think part of it is, like, a little bit of jitters. little bit of nerves, you know. And then the other part was like, I don't know, I just completely like zoned out on that for some reason. And then I don't know if you saw like probably 8 minutes in, I was like, oh shit, I have to spread creep, and then I just started like dropping tumors and like.
Yeah,
But
but the lings specifically, are you normally a bit better
No.
with leaving lings out, or is that just something you tend to ignore?
that isn't something I normally do,
Okay.
honestly.
Because that, I would say, yeah, your creep was a little late, a little disorganized, but it was kind of a crazy opening. I'm totally fine with the creep being a bit delayed. It wasn't the highest priority. Do you know the mechanic of how to shift deselect
Yeah.
to send the units there? And you can just send them out, remake the control group.
Yeah, I watched one of your other sessions where you talked about control group stealing, and I switched to that, and I've been using it.
Okay, cool. So you've got that on control and shift now.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. I think that's really good. And with the deselecting though, we don't even need to use anything special for that. Like, do you know? So if you look at what I'm doing on the stream,
Oh, let me
where
open it.
I'm shift clicking individual lings out of my selection. Right click, deselect, right click, deselect, right click, deselect. Control 1. Do you know what I was just kind of showing on stream there?
Yes.
Okay. Do you do that with putting drones back on gas?
I do, yeah.
You do, right?
I send them all to one,
So I think we saw you do
click
it
3
here.
times, and move it, yeah.
Cool, yeah. So it's the same thing, right? But you just got to remember to remake your control group at the end of it so that you're deselecting the scouting zerglings that you've left out there from your control group. So that is something you've got to do in every matchup as the most obsessive thing. If there is like one just huge thing that'll give you a like 5%, maybe even bigger, probably a 7 or 8% boost all matchups, just put ling spotters out. You know, just anytime you don't have map vision, it should be obsessive. Ling, something like that, you know? Just bunch of lings, see when they move out, see when they expand. Because if we look at this game, from your point of view, you run your whole army across when you want to see what's going on. And this is a habit I see a lot of players have, and it gets you in so much trouble. I've seen so many players get themselves in so much trouble with that because they don't know when a push is coming. They accidentally move their shit into their army and lose it. And in general, it just doesn't, like, your opponent dropped his third. You found out 5 minutes later or something like that. Like, it was so much later in the game.
Absolutely,
Yeah, it was 10 minutes when it was fully saturated for a while. So that's just one of those things that'll give you huge value. I would advise to practice that 5 minutes every day when you're about to hop in ladder. Just get in a custom game, no opponent or an easy AI. Just do your opening build and just obsessively send all those zerglings out. Remake your control group. Do it again. Do it again. Just do 5 minutes of that mechanical practice to build the habit so it feels really natural and smooth. And then when you're playing, make a goal of doing it every game. And if you do that within 3 or 4 days, it'll be second nature and it'll happen almost by default.
I had a pretty nasty bank right here too.
We do. I don't even want to talk about it. That's like a symptom that is underneath many layers of other problems, I want to say. So if you had more of a goal, looking at how you were spending your money, how you were managing your injects, I think you would have automatically spent that. Like, I don't look at you and say, oh, you're really bad at injecting and spending your money. Yeah, you do have a bank this game for quite a lot of it, but I think it's more because you didn't have a clear build order in terms of like a timing attack you were aiming for or anything like that. So that mechanical change, that's for all matchups. That's huge. What's something else that also applies to all matchups? Because I want to focus on these big changes first of all. That are something you can apply every matchup, every game. Overlord coverage sucked. First Overlord was great. Your other Overlord's just chilling. So you want to have a habit. Every Overlord you build in this early game, it should be after that first one on his side of the map. We want one there. We want one here to see Adepts, Hellions, or Zerglings or Banelings running in, no matter which matchup it is. We need that early warning. After that, you can fill out 1 or 2 on the edges to see those Prisms or Oracles coming in, those Banshees, that sort of stuff, right?
Right.
So that's a really easy habit. It's just going to be, as you build an Overlord here in the early game, I mean, we're used to clicking it just here. I can see you've built an Overlord, you've clicked it in the middle of your base. Just click it up there, click it up there,
Gotcha.
click it there. Easy peasy.
Against Terran, I like to put them like in the airspace a little bit outside of my base, just so I can spot like drops coming. I should probably just do that against Protoss too, right?
On the edges of the map, you mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's always highest priority is your first Overlord on the other side. So that's number 1 OV. Then number 2 number 3 go out front your natural and third, and then number 4 and 5 go on the edges. And you do that in every matchup, basically. I guess against Zerg, you don't really need the edge ones unless you're worried about a Nidus Worm, but it's, yeah, it'll still see mutas a little bit early, I guess. That's cool. So those are 2 things. Massive, massive value. Game changes. Are they going to win you every ZvP? Fuck no, because they're like 5% boost every matchup, every game. Once they're automatic, when you're focusing on them, you will play worse at first because it's a new thing you're adding in. It's going to complicate stuff, but stay focused on it. Build the muscle memory. Let that muscle memory settle until it becomes automatic, and it's going to be big dividends. Now let's talk about ZvP specifically, because I really want to get in here and give you some more direction. So what can we actually focus on here in ZvP? That is having, I mean, the easiest thing. Let's go broad strokes. Let's not go too detailed, okay? Because you haven't written a lot of notes before. So what can we do in terms of like, I guess like, I'm gonna write homework here as like a separate list already, just so we kind of know what the clear goals are. Homework. So we got mechanics. I'm gonna put this up the top, very top. So it's gonna be the last thing that we look at when we come back to this document. So in terms of the build, I think I would like you to write your build out more, okay? Write your build out more. So I want you to have a default build order. So if you go, oh, well, I can't do that because sometimes it's Stargate, sometimes it's Twilight, choose the one you think you're playing against more on the ladder right now. Make that the default. And then we can write out a little list of how we change it against the other tech tree, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Write it out. You know, add a list of how we diverge and then get back to the same game plan, right? How we diverge and then we converge back to the same game plan after reacting to different tech, you know, like Stargate. What would you say is the more common, Glaives or like Twilight Robo or Stargate at the moment?
No, I usually get Adept harass like almost every game against Protoss, but it's usually like goes into like Immortals, Archons, and all that. I don't usually get many Stargate games, honestly.
That's awesome. That makes ZvP so much easier for you. The worst is when it's 50-50. Yeah. It's like when it's 50% bio, 50% mech, you're like, ah, fuck. You know, I got to just pick one as a default. But you should always have a default. And this is a really big part of defining build orders and getting more consistent. There's just times where your information gets blocked. You just don't know what's happening. And we've got to kind of have a path that we can just follow while we're trying to get more Zerglings or more Overseers in and trying to figure out what's happening. Because the moment we don't have a game plan, we freeze up. In this game, it was really nice in terms of your opening. It wasn't the most defined thing. We did rush the lair, like I said. We could have had some more Lings vision. About 4 minutes, though, is where we had really smooth macro, and then we just start to forget about things. And this is because lots of things could happen at this point. The game was weird, and we didn't know what was going on. We accidentally move commanded our Lings right past these Adepts, which, of course, the Ling spotter would have seen. But you're going to start floating a lot of money, and we're going to stop producing very well. As soon as these Adepts come in, we're kind of like, oh, shit, what the fuck's happening? And, you know, even if this Adept harass didn't come, I think you would have started to freeze up a little bit because you didn't really have the information to know, hey, is there a big all-in coming? Is there a gateway explosion? At least having the Ling outside the base and at the third, that should give you a little bit more of an idea of what's going on. You know, seeing a move out give you a bit more comfort. So write out your build more. And as you go, it could be something like, I always have 1,000 minerals at this point. Let's remember to do X. Or I keep getting distracted by Glaive Adept Prism Harass. At this time, let's write out my set response to that. So that's kind of like build order and response planning. And that's something like, it can be really basic. You don't have to write out exact game timers for everything. It can be, I got to remember to go double gas on my natural when it hits full worker saturation. Something small like that. As long as you just start after a game where things go wrong, go, let's remember to change that one thing, write it down. I think you'll become a more methodical player and you'll find you start to improve a lot more because you're much more focused in all the little details of your build order.
Gotcha.
So that's going to be something you can gradually improve. I don't want to give you a strict build order change up. It may help you as a player. I'm not going to. I'm going to give you a few pointers. The first one is we need to define this into phases. So if you look in your document, I'm writing a few phases here. So you see those notes where I've written phase 1, phase 2, phase 3?
Are they?
In-
No. Oh, it's down low. My bad. Yeah.
No worries, just scroll down.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, so I'd like us to have more of a clear idea of like what we're doing at each phase. So that if you're sitting back defensively, you feel comfortable with like, do I have enough economy? Am I building units at the right time? Because you kind of built units at a pretty good time, but then you just kind of sat on that work account for a really long time. And
yeah. That's kind of what I was talking about when I said like, sometimes I'm just like, oh crap, I need to make units because he could be pushing out right now. And and I just kind of like don't make enough drones. It worked out, I guess, like, but yeah, it's still an issue kind of thing.
This could have been a ruffle stomp if you were more organized, because you were ahead. He got so thrown off by that drone blocking his natural. By the way, let's give a little bit of a pointer to Patriotic. I hope you're listening, Patriotic. If you see a drone over there, just pull a second probe immediately, attack it with both. And you don't need to build a zealot. That drone's going to die. Now, if Big Uzi then goes for a hatch, you force the Zerg to actually invest in fucking your build order up. A single drone block, delaying and fucking up your entire build, that was a disaster. The Nexus was so late. So just pull a second probe. Most of the time you can kill that drone. Sometimes you can even block it from getting the hatch block if you micro those probes well, which is really sick. You just keep one moving along next to it while you're attacking it. And that's very cool. So we could have been much further ahead. He says, I cried when that blocked. I could tell he just didn't have a response. Same thing with Zerg players. They get pylon blocked and they just look at it. They're like, let's hope he cancels the pylon. And the minerals hit 600, the pylon finishes, and they go, fuck. And it's like, come on. We've got to have a response to this. The drone block is less frequent, so he's obviously not faced it very much and didn't really have a set response and just kind of went, ah, and froze up. We're talking about those phases. So the reason I wanted to highlight that is you got really jumbled up. So what I want to talk about is phase 1 there is literally 55 drones, 4 gases, Ling Bane. That's, and you might want to stop even slightly lower on drones than that, but that's like, look, if there's no third Nexus, if they're not building that Nexus, but there's no probes and it still looks like it's just a fake third, we're just massing Ling Bane or 55 drones. We're slowly opening the Hydra tech, but we also don't want to go too much further than that. Now, something else we want to add here is we don't want double Evo chamber with your build. So Hydra Bane is already fragile. In general, let me add that as a detail. Single Evo melee upgrades only. You can definitely add a second Evo later, maybe with phase 3, but no earlier than that. Second Evo, or maybe phase 2 if you really want to, if you feel ahead. But I'm going to add it on phase 3 for now. Second Evo chamber. So the idea there, though, is basically it's like, okay, maybe we're starting those Hydra upgrades, but we're just trying to survive and build lots of units, etc. So let's imagine there was no third. You were scouting, he's on 2 base. Bassing units like this is great, but we shouldn't be wasting gas on double upgrades right now because our goal is surviving. We shouldn't be spending gas on OV speed or an infestation pit. We need to just get the Hydra upgrades both done and add some Hydras as both upgrades are nearing finishing. We don't really want to be building Hydras off just one upgrade or only a very few. It's more just about Ling Bane initially to survive, right?
Gotcha.
Likewise, if we scouted and said, hey, there's a third and it's being probed and, you know, he's chrono boosting probes, we would go, cool. Now I can start to diversify a bit more. I can add the 20 drones. We can go up to, so what's the next one? 66 drones. So 6 gases, 4th base, a macro hatch. And then if we see gases on the 3rd, adding a lot of upgrades, Templar Archives. Say an Overseer goes through and you see Forge, you see a Templar Archives, you see a Robo, you see a Twilight, you see lots of different tech, right? As opposed to if an Overseer goes through, you don't really see any probes rallying to that 3rd, you see 6 gateways finishing. It's a very different tell, right? It's like, well, this guy might attack me right now. Let's be careful. But if we do see that the former, the kind of, hey, he's probing up, he's taking the gases on his 3rd, is the simple tell that Cyril told us about recently. We just go, okay, we can go phase 3. So how many drones? That's going to be your high drone count. You mentioned 80 drones. So 80 drones, which is what? Basically, that's like, do you take the gases on your 4th base normally? Or do you want to stay like 6 gases and just have the minerals on the 4th?
If the game gets to like past 15 minutes, I usually take the gases at the 4th, but I don't usually do it before then.
cool. We won't define it then. We'll let that stay kind of loose based on the game, how much gas you got in the bank, right? 80 drones. So we'll go 80 drones, second Evo, infestation, and then hive. Infestation into hive. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Second Evo. Obviously, like single Evo melee upgrades. I mean, Bane speed is always going to be a priority if we're under threat as well. Since we're defending with Ling Bane. So we've got 3 clear phases there. In terms of the macro, that's still defensive play, and it's very by the book defensive play. Even cutting out the second Evo, cutting out the OV speed infestation pit. I want to make your life easier, and I want to make it more directionful. So in terms of strategy, I want to say 2 things. Let's ditch the swarm hosts for now, because if we want to get them, we've either got to rush them faster and start doing damage with them, or it's got to be kind of later in the game after we've made some plays with Hydra Bane. So I want to say ditch those for now and focus on actually having a preset Hydra Bane attack timing where we go and fuck with our opponent's shit and do some big damage. So I'm thinking about it. What do you think? 3 base, 66 drones, go with like 15 Hydras, as many Banes as we can make, try to time it out with like +2 melee finishing or something, or...
I mean, that sounds good, yeah.
The idea here is we don't need to commit to it, but you always want to build to it. And it's just going to make your life easy because you're going to shut down any attacks coming at you because you're already beelining towards it. And you're going to invest in a lot of things where you can go across and deny a 4th base or just win a game if you've had a good early game. So I think there's like a power to kind of having some sort of attack, at least in the back of our mind, if not the front of it.
Just in like experience, like I have a much better time fighting in the middle of the map as opposed to like pushing him, because I've lost like a ton of games like trying to fight him at his base, and like how do I like his warp ins like being right there, his reinforcements just end up crushing my army, or like the shield batteries or like anything like that essentially. Whereas like when I fight in the middle of the map, I can get a big surround, and after I kill his army, my reinforcements come in, and then I just gotta fight his reinforcements to win the game.
I think that's really good thinking. So that's like, hey, I've thrown my army away with shitty attacks. It hasn't worked well for you in the past. 2 things. If we have a smooth enough early game, good scouting, we should be able to just roll. Not just that, we should also be able to see. We should also see with our Overseer, Changelings, or Lings. Oh yeah, he has nothing. He doesn't have the units yet. Oh, he has nothing. We can go. So that's something where if you have a good enough clear beelining towards it and you benchmark it each game, you go, hey, let's look back at the replay. Could I have hit this a minute faster when his storm wasn't done and he was 3 Archons less on the map? Ooh, I could have. I would have rolled him, right? So you can improve it that way. On the other hand, there will be games where it's not perfect and stuff. Do we need to blindly attack? Hells no. So we've got like so many different plans here, right? So if not confident attacking in that specific game, what are some ways you feel like you could open it up? If you're going Hydra Bane, you're looking to kind of control it and do some damage without just headbutting in. What are some ways we can fight without moving our army into storms?
Something I've been doing lately is, and it's kind of why I got the fast Overlord speed, and I just didn't end up using it. So I've been doing Overlord drops.
What do you like dropping? Like Bane drops in Mineral Lines, Hydra drops, Sling drops?
Well, I get like 6 Overlords full of, like 2 full of Banes and then 4 full of Lings. I'll drop the Lings in the main and then the Banes in the natural Mineral Line.
Very nice. Yeah, and if you can get those 2 Baneling drops to hit separate Mineral Lines as well, that'd be great. So OV drops is some nice stuff. I feel like I would probably advise scale that back. Scale it back a little bit.
Gotcha.
Until your first wave hits. Okay? So just a single OV Bane drop or 2 is great. An empty Drop-a-Lord is actually the GOAT. If you're playing against someone who's reacting very well, right? Do a Bane drop and then just do an empty Drop-a-Lord and just queue it through Mineral Lines and watch them warp in Stalkers, shitty units they don't want, run probes around. The important thing, though, is we can also do ground-based run-bys and attacks. And this is what I want you to get more confident confident with, because you currently have had no map vision and stuff. So as you get better at that, it's going to be good for it. But basically, as the Protoss takes a fourth, they inevitably open up more fronts. Anytime they don't have really sick SimCity, like this game, this third base is just a Baneling Zergling run by Dream. If their whole army's up there, say they're trying to take this fourth on the top, you can come forward and kind of just threaten with Hydra Bane and have it kind of pre-spread out. And its job is just to look scary, and if he attacks into your concave, sweet. That's great. We can take that fight. But then you just roll 15 Banelings into the natural, right-click them on the Adept in the wall, and then queue them into the minerals. And he's occupied on the right. He's going, it's a scary Zerg army. This guy's going to YOLO some Hydra Bane, and you have no thought of actually doing that. And then those Banelings run in and kill a whole worker line. And that's really cool. So using our force not as a one-dimensional hammer that clumps up and fights the Protoss in one direction, because as your experience has told you, Protoss loves it when we do that. They're like, oh, fuck yeah, he's going to fight into my force fields and storm and splash damage, and I could focus all my power units in one area. That's what Protoss wants us to do. So we can use our army more as a distraction, and that's going to be super powerful, right? So OV drops can be good. Even better is main army sets up to deny fourth with a big preset concave. Not just running it around in the giant ball, right? And then we do big Lingbane run-bys, right? Into other side of the map. And there's always that kind of very simple structure to it, which is repeatable. Which is if he's taken a fourth down here, and you're fighting out here, you've broken these rocks, you got Hydra Bane, the Banelings run through on the other side. It's always distract with our main army on one side, which we never really intend to fight with. We never intend to commit to a fight with, and run by at the same time. Load up an Overlord, 4 Banelings, queue that into the main mineral line at the same time. And you'll find that the Protoss often will come out and fight you on your terms in the middle of the map a lot more. So this actually will push them to do what you were already talking about. You had a lot of success with, is they come to you, they come to creep, you set up a flanker surround, fuck them up. So I think that's going to be really nice, is us looking at a really simple composition of Hydra Bane, trying to put on more dynamic pressure and hopefully force them to come to us. So hopefully that can work out well. How's this floating around in your mind? Are there any questions with how to make that work?
No, it's I just need to be more proactive with Overlords and Zerglings, like you said. What I might try doing is like even just like setting 2 control groups with like a couple wings and like just having them on a patrol route, I guess, throughout the map.
What for specifically? Like just for map vision, or?
Yeah. Would that not be?
I think just individual spotters will be great. If they're running a lot of Zealot run-bys around, you could definitely make like a drop defense squad, we could call it, of like 8 Banelings, 30 Zerglings, and they just like, I'll go intercept those Zealots. I'll go chase that Prism, make sure it doesn't warp in Zealots in my main. Like you can do that sort of stuff. But otherwise, just getting in the habit of putting those Ling spotters everywhere is going to be the big game changer, because that'll just give you more vision anyway. And then as your main army, once you get like Bane speed, bunch of Hydras, bunch of speed Banes, you're kind of comfortable going around and threatening with that army, right? The Hydra Bane is very explosive and very scary. It's just as long as we don't try to force it through a choke point or anything like that, you know, as long as, like I said, we don't fight, we just kind of set it up and go, hey, buddy, come over here, you know? Come attack into a concave of Hydras, and then I'll fight you, but don't be the one who gives him a very simple one-directional engagement.
Gotcha.
Cool. Alright. So, overall, if we had to dumb this down, we've got time for one more game, I think. Well, we do. So what I want to do is we're going to be focusing... We can only learn one thing at a time, at most 2, right? We can't do everything I just talked about. So I kind of want you to empty your mind, if you can, a little bit. Just kind of be like, shake it around, shake your arms around, whatever. Try to forget everything we just talked about, and just focus on, let's try and get those Ling spotters out. And once we get 3 base economy up, let's make a lot of Hydra Bane and try to do some, you know, Hydra Bane on one side, Banelings run by on the other side, that sort of thing that we talked about. Other than that, keep doing what you're doing. Don't try to change everything at once. Let's try to just do those. And if Patriotic wants to... Alright, Patriotic, make me the party leader if you can. Make me leader, please. Hopefully this works. This might derp out when I host up. We'll just host Nightshade again. Why not? Simple map. That might bug out. Yeah, it's going to bug out. No. Hey, it didn't. Sweet as. All right. Okay, so you're Zerg. He's Protoss. So yeah, like I said, we talked about a lot of theory. You can focus on it over the week. For now, just try to get the OVs out front. Try to every now and then set up link spotters. You're not going to do it consistently. There'll be moments where you don't have map vision. Just every now and then, if you can remember to chuck a few more Zerglings out, that'll be awesome. And yeah, basically we're just going to go non-stop Hydra Bane off 3 bases of workers, 66 drones, and see what plays we can make happen. If you want to add some drops in, go for it. But the rule here, no hive, no swarm hosts. Okay?
Gotcha.
That's the big thing. Just keep it simple and let's do Hydra Bane well. We do Hydra Bane well, we're gonna smash. Good luck, man. Let's kill some Protoss.
Appreciate you.
Alright. Alright. So, we've kept it simple-ish. Cutting all the complexity out. We want to dumb things down and focus on the Hydra Bane. I hope we can do this. I'm sure it's going to fall apart this game. It's not going to work. It never does. First game, it doesn't work, guys. Thank you very much, everybody. Florencio with a big 69 viewer raid. Of course, Florencio gave us a 69 viewer raid. How you doing, dude? Thanks for hanging out. Thank you, Petra Rabbit with the Twitch Prime earlier. Traumatanza. Keybrit, so kind, dropping a big 2350. 2350. Love your coaching sessions. Keep it up. Thanks, Keybrit. Thanks for hanging out with us, brother. Tallest man on earth with the 5-month resub. Kenton Brad with the 4-month resub. Big thanks for the support, fam. So let's see what we do. We're going for that 17 hatch here after the drone scout. Adding another drone. Totally down with all this. Who knows? Maybe Patriotic just falls apart again from the drone block. We'll keep our eyes on it. Fuck. Sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. That was way louder than it was meant to be. Oh, man, my eardrums hurt. I hope you guys are okay. Rip headphone users, I'm so sorry. I'm getting my phone today, so I don't have to use these shitty browser alarms anymore. My new phone's at the post office. It was meant to come on Friday. While I was eating lunch, right next to my fucking door, they were like, we attempted delivery, but no one was home. Typical. Sorry, guys. I'm very sorry about that. Nothing can be done. It's not going to happen again. I will actually have my phone to set a proper alarm. My new phone. Sitting at the goddamn post office. As long as I get there before 3 p.m. Oh, 2.5 hours. I got to go right away when we're done. It's just down the road, but just got to make sure I don't forget. All right. So we're droning up. We're doing our thing. Immediate build goals? So what are our immediate build goals? 66 drone, Hydra Bane, non-stop, looking for run buys and setting up to deny bases. And what are the sub goals within that? If we die, go back and improve the early game. Fix the mistakes, work on the details. No hive, no swarm hosts. Just Hydra Bane and improving our opening and improving our mid-game play. So this is a very fast Evo, Baneley Nest, and Lair, and that's a problem. In the previous one, there was a really late Nexus, so it made sense, but I thought it was a reaction. Now we see it's not, and I go, ugh! Let's write some notes. Okay. Game 2 notes. Evo Chamber, Bane Nest, and Lair are all ridiculously early. Alright, Patrol Path is just useless. We don't need Patrol Paths. That's because we need just a Ling sitting there. These Patrol Paths are nice bonuses, but you need a Ling just sitting out here, which is definitely a thing which is missing. But yeah, he's really just hitting a few too many things at once with the tech. It's the fastest Hydra Den of all time, off almost no workers. Yeah, for sure. All ridiculously early. Okay, so the rule should be Bane Nest plus Lair at 3 minutes 40. Fastest, in my opinion. Any earlier than that is crazy. Yeah, we're dropping at like 3:30, 3:20 or something, I think. The Lair is so fast. I think 3:40 fastest. Yeah. Focus on droning non-stop more. Our economy build-up is way too slow.
Our forces are under attack. Our forces are under attack.
So I'm writing a bunch of details about how to improve the scouting there. Seven drones, no units. Super lazy. Yeah, very disorganized opening. Yeah, the previous game it felt like he had a bit more of a handle on reacting to things, but this game he just did things in what felt like a very random order. This is a very slow adept timing, but we just don't have any units. Thankfully, Patriotic's kind of moved commanding there a little bit. No pull on the drones. Ooh, should have put those to the natural.
Our forces are under attack. Our forces are under attack.
Okay, so let's give him some opening notes to fix this absolute chaotic shit show that we're looking at right now. Because it felt like he was reacting in the previous game to him messing his opponent's opening, but this time it just looks crazy. I'm like, what am I looking at right now? So what are some rules for a Hydra Bane opening? Let's say Lair plus Bane Nest at 4 minutes. So let's say, 4 minutes / fully saturated 2 base plus 1 gas equals Lair plus Bane Nest. Opening notes to get more consistency. 4:30 Evo Chamber. Soon after that, we can kind of get... Let's say Lair plus Bane Nest plus Evo. We'll keep them all at the same time. Make it simple. I guess we'd have Fallings initially, right? That's something. Fallings initially. 3 minute 30. Wing speed finishes Add 6 more lings. So 10 for map vision / killing pair of adepts if they're out. Right? So you should have 10 to 12 lings total.
A creep tumor is under attack.
As your main and natural are oversaturated, or third base gets a handful of drones, add 3 more gases for 4 total.
A creep tumor is under attack. Our forces are under attack.
And underneath everything, droning takes priority,
Mineral
always.
field depleted.
Never gets supply block.
Forces are under attack.
So those are 2 golden rules to make this more solid, right? Sorry guys, we're off the camera apparently. 66 drones, Hydra Bane's coming forward. He's got way too many Hydras and not enough Banes. So that's just wrong.
Mutation
Cool.
complete.
It's meant to be mostly Ling Bane with like about 15 at most 20 Hydras. Thankfully the Protoss is just dead, has nothing. Cannot keep up. We're gonna be so overwhelmed.
Metamorphosis complete. Mineral field depleted. Our forces are under attack.
Ratio should be 12 or so Hydras, pack of Speed Banes, then go up to 15 to 20 Hydras, then mass Speed Banes. We went almost pure Hydra. Hey, look at that. Finishes it up 1 minute before we're meant to finish the coaching. Perfect timing. So we went across with a much sharper attack, and we used your overpowering macro to just win the game a lot easier. And that's the good thing about having an attack planned. Few notes while we've got the end of that game fresh. We'll want to go up to about 12 Hydras initially, so you got some ranged firepower. Add some Speed Banes, so that's an army that can stop any really fast, like Arc on Immortal Zealot push, something like that. And then you can go up to about 15 to 20 Hydras max. The absolute max is 30 Hydras, and that's when you're like maxed out with your army split into 2 big squads of Hydra Bane that are kind of ready to attack. Like one attacks the 5th on one side, one attacks the other side of the map, a different expansion, and then if they push out, you try to sandwich them with both armies. But basically, you went straight up to about 30 Hydras with no Lings and Banes in that army, which is very scary. It can work, but you want to be going much quicker up into the Banelings, especially with the +2 melee was timing out there, and that's the big power thing. If you do prefer the second Evo, you can absolutely add a second Evo in a bit earlier. You know, find what works for you and what you feel comfortable with. But the fact that we just went over there and kicked him in the nuts was so much better. And that was good. Obviously, though, there are other issues and things to focus on. That game, your opening looked like a little bit of a mess. So I want to drag your attention down to page 2. Opening notes to get more consistency. In the first game, your build kind of made sense because you massively delayed his natural. And all your timings, I thought, made sense for what the game was. And maybe you naturally do adapt better when you're kind of dictating the pace, you're denying the natural, you're kind of forcing him to go down a weird path, and you're scouting and reacting. But in this game, your economy built up really slow. We rushed the tech way too fast, and we ended up in a really awkward position where we had 60 drones, 5 bases, and no units to defend at depths. And we got very lucky that he didn't micro them very well. So I've written out some rules that I think would, without going into crazy detail, fix your opening and give it more consistency so you're safer. So can you see that list there?
Yes.
Cool. So you're going to notice that's a later layer, Bane Nest and Evo Chamber, than what you're used to. You're often getting that down at like 320 or something, like really, really early. But you're also, yep.
I think I took it just because I had too much gas in the bank, and I caught it a little late. Like I don't know if you saw, but I completely forgot ling speed.
Yes, I was wondering if that was on purpose or not. Okay, it was an accident.
No, it was not on purpose.
Looking at the build order, yeah, you went 3 minutes 17 Evo and Lair, and you go, okay, because you had some gas and then the Baneling Nest then. The problem is that dicks your minerals, right? Because sometimes we go, oh yeah, it's cool, and then 2 injects pop and we've got no minerals because we've just spent it on that. And remember, each drone we put into an Evo or a Bane Nest is also a drone that's not mining. So this is like, if your opponent's on 1 base, I'm okay with a Bane Nest that fast. There's never a reason to get an Evo that fast. Like if we were just getting the Evo for the upgrade or nothing else that early, I'd be okay with it, right? But we can't go second gas, Bane Nest, and Lair all so quickly. So I want you to stay 1 gas a bit longer. You'll notice in those notes, we've got as your main and natural. So basically, the rule is about 4 minutes, or when your main, natural, and 1 gas are all saturated, that's when you go Lair, Baneling Nest plus Evo Chamber. And soon after that, as you get either a handful of drones on the 3rd, or maybe you're getting a bit oversaturated on your natural if you're still rallying there, you'll add 3 more gases all at once. So we're still going up to 4 gases pretty quickly. We're still going to, as that layer finishes, get the Hydra Den and stuff. But because it's delayed, we are making sure we focus on what we should do, the solid thing, which is a pack of Zerglings and a few safety Banes if there's any chance of Adepts or Zealots or anything coming over. It's very much just some Ling Bane to help us get up. And the Hydra is going to come later, kind of as we go into phase 2 for the most part. Remember, as we're kind of droning towards 66 drones, that's also when we can start building Hydras. So if you look at the note on phase 2, it's like we can start building Hydras as we go towards this path. But very rarely do we want Hydras earlier than that, because all the early pressures, just Ling Banes, getting a drone count up is going to be more important. Otherwise, we end up spreading ourselves into Banes, Lair, lots of gas, Hydra upgrades, melee upgrades, and we just don't have enough drones on mining, or we don't have enough Zerglings to defend those drones. So we're going to be just a little bit more mineral focused, and hopefully those opening notes really help you out. And you'll notice there's 2 golden rules at the very bottom of those notes. So because they're kind of loose, they're not super defined timings, it's just focus more on droning as a priority and not getting supply blocked as a priority. As long as those 2, if you just keep droning smoothly without these big hiccups that you've been hitting a little bit, it's naturally going to be much better. So those are the 2 kind of golden rules. Even if you're a little bit late on those timings, the Bane Nest went down 4 minutes 20 because I was busy droning and building overlords, no worries. You're going to have a lot more workers, and it's going to make you a lot kind of safer through that harassment and then early mid-game phase.
Gotcha.
Cool. So I guess those opening notes, I'm also going to cut and paste to the very top. I'm going to go build order and response planning. So the most important actionable notes are all from the top. There's the mechanics things. Practice that with a custom game if you can. There's the build order and response planning, which is just try to add little notes to your build, little details so you memorize them a bit better and you become more organized, because you're doing a lot of stuff well, but you're doing it on a subconscious level. So there's going to be times where there's just a bit more variance than there needs to be, or you'll feel like it's a good idea to do something and it won't actually make sense. It'll be what we call a half-baked build adjustment. Basically, it seems like a brilliant idea, and there's usually a nugget of wisdom, but we haven't really thought out the details of getting to that point, right?
Got you, yeah.
Oh, it'd be so good if I just spend this gas on this faster lair right now, and then we can't build the drones. And it's like, it wouldn't have been bad to get a lair there if we just droned a little bit faster, and then did it. Yeah, and then we've got those opening notes, and then in the build goals, try to be decisive with get across the map with the Hydra Bane, and if you're not, you're scouting ahead with Lings, you're scouting ahead with Changelings. If you're not confident going in with it, you just set up on one side, start picking off some gateways or setting up to deny a 4th, and then you run Banelings on the other side while they're distracted. It's just basically setting up 1-2 punches over and over again, and trying to get in those worker lines.
Okay.
Awesome. That's a big list of notes. Make sure you reopen this tomorrow when your brain is fresh and just read through it. And when you're actually hopping on ladder, just do a couple things at a time. Like start with just the mechanics and then 1 or 2 other things. And make sure you go back after a few days practice, review the document again. Oh, you know what? This part feels natural. Move on to a new part. Just be methodical with it. And whenever you feel a little bit lost, go back, reread these notes, and make sure you're focusing on the right things.
Hey, man, thanks for your time, man. I really appreciate it. And for the notes. for this document, will I always have access, or do I need to like copy all this and put it in my own
No,
document?
you're an admin to it. It is technically mine. I own it, I guess, so I could delete it or something. But it just makes it easier for me to file it and find it that way. Just favorite it for now, I guess, so that you can really easily find it. It'll always be if you go in your drive and check your shared files, you can always just search coaching in your drive and it should show up. But just chuck that in your favorites bar or whatever, your favorites menu, and
Gotcha. Yeah.
yeah, it's actually, I think it's one of the most powerful things, just getting in the habit of just writing down a little note here or there to give you a bit more direction. I feel like everyone has two versions of their StarCraft self. It's the one who knows exactly what they want to do in a situation, and they play their peak StarCraft, and there's the version that goes, I have no fucking idea what I'm supposed to do here, and we play like 1,000 MMR worse than that other version of ourselves. So the more we can kind of try to understand things, have plans for each situation, writing down is a big part of that, and hopefully it can lead to us being the better version of ourselves a little bit more often, and not having to be the what the fuck is going on in this game version, which inevitably is going to come out, but we'll try to keep it to a minimum.
Oh yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, good first sesh. Hit me up if you want to book in another one at any point. Otherwise, drop by the chat. Let us know how it's going anytime. And
Yeah.
good luck on the ladder, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Like I said.
No worries. Have a good night, brother.
You too, man. You too.
All right, we done. Good little sesh there. Hope that helps you guys out. The minimap awareness will be such a game changer. And I could have just said, memorize a build, do this. I tried very hard to keep it as simple as possible there and give him instead something which will cover up a lot of his weaknesses, which is that 66 Hydra Bane. Because he's already beelining in that direction, he will naturally keep himself strong against a lot of the 3 base timings, catch a lot of greedy Protoss opponents, and hopefully take him to Dicktown.